Hey everybody, this review is on The Conjuring 2. So the plot of this movie is the Warrens go to England for a paranormal investigation because they're reported from a single mother named Peggy Hodgson who tells them that that their youngest is acting crazy and is all possessed. So obviously the family's all terrified. She doesn't know what to do, so she calls up the Warrens to investigate the possession, and they discover that the spirit that's possessing the youngest daughter is Bill Willikins, who's the former owner of their house, who is dead but really doesn't want anyone to take over his house. He's overly attached to it, so he uses their youngest daughter as a possession to scare them off. But they figure out that there's actually another evil spirit in the form of a nun that's the real demon who's only just using Willikins as the pawn in her plan. So they have to investigate this whole situation of how this nun is overpowering this house, and they try to exorcise the youngest daughter of the Hodgson family and hopefully return everything to normal as is. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're all where I reviewed it last year. I have seen the first Conjuring movie and I liked it. I think it's a good introduction to possession horror if you're not experienced with like supernatural possession horror. I think it's a good film to start with. This it's more or less the same, but I don't mean that in a bad way. I think maybe what makes this one a tad different from the first one is that this one's more focused on the relationship between the whole family they're investigating. Like you see you see the children's the three other children and their relationship with the youngest daughter, and like, yeah, there's like brothers who are of course little troublemakers and little brats, and of course you have the older sister as always. And yeah, they're kind of just basic characters. Like you can't really write a whole lot about them when talking about this movie because they're just basically the typical older sibling type characters. But like the kids do fine. Like they're actually really good. And heck, even the youngest girl, like I think how she has to act all possessed and has to and freaks out over not being in control of herself, and sometimes she even breaks down, like kind of like a split personality. And the kid does really good. Like I'm actually really impressed. And I don't know if this movie was shot in England or if it was meant to just look like it, but I'm pretty sure it was probably shot in England. So it does have give that old authentic uh old style England type vibe, because this was based on a an actual case that was invented. Because I don't know if I mentioned this, but the first Conjuring was inspired by a true story. Yeah, I know those true story horror movies are often my favorite type of horror movies, and obviously, like that supernatural stuff isn't real per se, but just the whole dynamic between families and something going really bad. Like sometimes you need someone to help you with the problem. So I definitely get the idea of what this was trying to be, because obviously, like this one and the second one, they open with uh like a little discussion with the Warrens saying like, "Are you sure you think there's possession?" Because the whole arc of this movie is that the Warrens weren't actually believed they were just con artists. Like they didn't actually think that the supernatural stuff they announced and wrote about was all real. They just thought it was a scam to give people attention. And they don't dwell upon that too much. Like most of it's just their relationship with their new objective of trying to get this little kid to avoid possession and have the whole family safe in their household. So they don't it's not really a big arc. It's not a subplot where they try to prove themselves to the world, because then again, I don't know if that how historically accurate this was. Obviously, like I said, it's kind of weird that this is the Conjuring films are based on true stories, which is kind of weird. But I think that does kind of give it a bit of a interesting aspect to these kinds of films, because it kind of makes you think, ooh, what could have inspired them to do a whole movie around it, a supernatural horror, mind you. And it's got a lot of good scares. It's Yeah, of course, obviously most of it's just that supernatural possession horror. Like you see the kid like with a gravelly old man voice. Like, yeah, if you find that kind of stuff scary, this is definitely gonna scare me. obviously I know that supernatural possession mumbo jumbo isn't real, and there most of the cases uh in what's scary about this movie, I guess, is that they show all the demons like in the basement where Ed is like in the basement and it's all flooded and he try and like there's like this monster and like it's stuff like that where he's like trying to kind of like a quiet place, although it's definitely more loud and more ambiguous than a quiet place like that scene. And of course, the as I mentioned, the nun is in this because the nun. I actually, you know what? Believe it or not, I did not know the nun was a Conjuring movie when it first came out. I mean, mind you, I didn't see the first Conjuring until last year, so and what is she playing this week? Uh, yeah. The nun is the, as I mentioned, is the demon that's actually threatening the Hodgson household, and it's kind of weird. Like, yeah, this is definitely something that uh, didn't happen in real life, but I think it's an interesting idea, like a nun demon, because it's kind of like an oxymoron. Like you think like a religious like nun wouldn't be a demon, but I guess they don't really dwell upon the gimmick too much. Like it's scary when it needs to be scary, and the performances are very good. Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga are they're both very good actors, and I think when they're given all this material of having to face all these supernatural scary possession scenarios, I think they work off really well with each other. And even with the Hodgson family, I think all that cast do really good with each other. Like they're not bickering all the time. I mean, like yeah, they're under a lot of pressure, but they they have to listen to these exorcists because they know that there's no other way, that paranormal investigators is the only way they can handle this situation. So it's in a way like the first film in terms of characters and the type of story, but it's different in case of what they're going through and the scenario. And like I said, like what it adds to the world of The Conjuring with the nun and stuff. And it's a fun horror sequel. I haven't seen all the Conjures. I mean, I probably need to watch the third one before I see the new one. So, but I think this is a good film. If you liked the first Conjuring, it's more or less the same kind of fun supernatural excitement that you'd like. And if you thought the first one was just good as is and you hope there was a sequel that added more, this probably isn't going to do it for you. But with really good performances, very good scares, and a different kind of setting, I think it's a sequel worth watching. So, goodbye, everybody.